Welcome back to Wealth Wednesday. My name is Bryant Stone, Chief Investment Officer of Polimeni Tax and Financial Group. Appreciate you guys coming on as always. This week we're going to talk about a question that I usually get from a lot of my clients because, throughout the retirement planning process, you'll speak to coworkers, you'll read financial articles, and a consistent question that I get is an annuity right for me? And I typically laugh when I get that question because it's very loaded, right? Because typically when someone asks me that question is because they spoke to their coworker or they spoke to their aunt, and someone told them something about an annuity, good or bad. And then obviously they asked me, is an annuity right for me? So we're going to break down that question and really how you should approach that and how I approach it with all my clients, okay? So the first thing is when it comes to that question, and I tell my clients this all the time, is the first thing we want to do is assess your risk tolerance, okay? So what does assess your risk tolerance mean? That means that we find out through a process of questioning how adverse you are to risk, how much you like risk, and really figuring out of your total portfolio how much of it needs to be allocated towards things that could possibly lose you money but also gain you money, and then also things that will keep your assets safe. So we try to figure out how you feel towards investing, what's your risk tolerance. That's usually the first thing that we'll try to identify. Secondly, the thing we're going to want to look at is what's your time horizon, and what your time horizon mean is how far are you out from retirement? Are you 35 years old and you have another 30 years before you retire? If that's the case, then your time horizon is 30 years. Are you 55 and you're planning to retire at 70? So that means your time horizon is 15 years. So really from that point, we can gauge, if you're not 100% sure on your risk tolerance and or just to confirm what your risk tolerance is, how aggressive you should be in your portfolio. Now we may have people that we may feel that they should be allocated a certain way, but their risk tolerance says different. So then we try to find the happy medium. So then that way we can better assist you on figuring out is an annuity right for you and or any other type of investment. So the third thing we're going to want to look at when identifying is an annuity right for you is figuring out if you have a pension. If you do have a pension, what is that amount going to be? Is it going to have a cost of living adjustment? Which means also called COLAs. And what that does is help you keep pace with inflation, okay? Are you going to have Social Security? I mean, 95% of Americans do have Social Security, so really it's just figuring out what that number is going to be. When are you going to elect Social Security? Because the longer you delay Social Security, the higher your benefit is. So figuring out those two things to figure out exactly what is going to be your guaranteed income. So really from that point, we can assess, okay, if you do have an income gap, maybe an annuity might be right for you. Maybe it may not be right for you. But really trying to identify what that income gap is, if any, so we can figure out and put that into our planning process to figure out if an annuity is right for you, okay? Now, the fourth thing that we're going to want to talk about is really what's your strategy for your portfolio? And this is an open-ended question I ask a lot of my clients because before I like to give them recommendations, tell them what they need to do with their money, I like to figure out what their strategy is, what their plan is, okay? And then from that point, I can get into what my philosophy is, what my strategy is, and when we're figuring out this process, the things that I like to do or what I like to typically recommend is I like to break clients' portfolios down into 3 buckets, okay? The first bucket being the growth bucket, and that can be a combination of a lot of things. It can be stocks, it can be ETFs, it can be REITs, it can be variable annuities. So these are things that grow with the market or grow with a certain sector, also have a risk factor to it, right? So you can lose money in it, but they have that ability to grow a lot of money. So that we consider that our growth bucket, okay? The second bucket that we like to talk about with a lot of our clients is allocating a certain portion of their portfolio to a safety bucket, okay? And things that can go into a safety bucket are bonds, CDs, fixed indexed annuities, money markets. I mean, you can even have just a regular savings account in there, even though you're probably not going to want to do that, just because savings accounts, don't earn a lot of interest. But these are things that we can put into a safety bucket, and we may want to consider in that safety bucket portion. Okay. Now, the third thing, or the third way, or the third bucket that will break down someone's portfolio is an income bucket. Okay. An income bucket can be a couple different things. It can be a fixed indexed annuity. It can be a dividend paying stock. It can be an immediate annuity. So it's really figuring out, when we talk about the 3-bucket strategy, is figuring out, okay, based upon your risk tolerance, based upon your time horizon, based upon how much money or guaranteed income that you may need for retirement, which portion of your portfolio should be in the growth bucket, which portion should be in the safety bucket, and which portion should be in the income bucket. So once we figure out those percentages, and then from that point, what we're going to do is figure out what investments need to go inside those different buckets for you, okay? So once we've figured out all these things, at this point, then we can figure out if an annuity is right for you, okay? And if we identified that the annuity is a right product for you, at that point, then we can go through the process of figuring out, okay, which company is going to give you the highest payout, which company is going to give you the best index, which company is going to have the lowest fees. So at that point, we figure out all the logistics behind the annuity. Now, through that process, if we identified that an annuity is not right for you, and then you know your answer, right? So when we ask these questions and when clients ask me these questions, this is the process that I'll take my clients through so they can figure out if an annuity is right for them, instead of just giving you a cookie cutter answer without any process to actually take you through. So once again, guys, we appreciate you guys coming on, and we'll see you again next week.